Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 73 with Sam Golovey. I'm super excited to have you on, man, because, I mean, if I have my stats correct, there's more real estate agents on the market than houses on the market at the moment.
That is correct.
Yeah, but for me, like, you set yourself apart a little bit, and maybe we will talk about how that is today and what this man does differently to persuade people.
Persuade.
to persuade. I mean, isn't it a little bit, I mean, actually, no, it's not. It's to help people reach their lifelong dream of purchasing a home.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. That's more politically correct.
I feel like you can sell more than I can, man. I love this already. The intro is spectacular.
Yeah, Sam, welcome. Thank you for coming on, and hoping to learn from you. And then I'm sure the people, once they follow your page and stuff, they'll see why, what I'm talking about. But just for starters, I love what you do on the weekly basis. Tuesdays, you go live 5 p.m. You have a YouTube channel and you just discuss real estate.
Yes. Yeah. So going live actually was a new thing. It was actually through one of my friends that also is in real estate, has a really poppin' channel, I would say, for our area. And he was basically saying like, okay, you can get these followers or whatever, but he's like, a lot of people these days can make a good video. Like if you give someone enough time and repetition on one video, if the videographer works with them long enough,
yeah,
like they can get through it, you know. But he's like, but when people see you live, that's next level, because that's on the spot. That's your mind working in the motion.
Yeah. No edits.
No edits, you know. And so even if you biff it or mess up, you kind of just have to roll with the punches and keep going. And so for me, I started doing that live on the YouTube channel. Like, I'm not trying to get famous. That's not my goal. But I know that it's brought like, I guess like assertiveness to my clientele, or maybe to the people that are watching, especially if they're from out of town, because I get a lot of out of town clients.
Moving into California or out of?
Into.
Who's still coming here?
Yeah, we actually have a huge flow.
That's awesome.
Like even just in the last few months, I already got 2 clients from Texas, which you would think that we're only leaving to Texas. Yeah. I thought the same, but we still have a really good job market here.
Yeah.
And then of course we still have like Bay Area moving into Sacramento. So there's a lot of that as well. But it's just brought, like, for me, the live was, I never wanted to do it. I never wanted to commit to a once a week, a 5:30. But I think that it's kind of paying dividends as far as like my clients actually calling and texting me saying, you said this or this and this, and they bring it up.
Well, that's not what you said in your video, Sam.
Yeah. No, but they actually bring up points that I mentioned about the market or whatever we're talking about. And they'll say it in my phone conversation when I'm following up with them.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's almost kind of bad, because if you said something,
I know. You know, speaking of messing up online,
yeah,
that's when you just go on YouTube and delete it, right?
Yeah, so that's something that I really like. But then, another thing that I liked about the way you do business is you go to neighborhoods and you review the houses being built. So like you do like a walkthrough, where oftentimes clients or people looking for a home might not have the time to just drive around and waste. I have an appointment with the realtor. We're gonna be walking around for 4 hours.
Right.
This way they could just jump on, like, for example, your Instagram page and walk a couple neighborhoods in a day and be like, okay, these houses there, this is the price range. This is there. Like you just recently posted Lincoln under 500K, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy actually.
There's no new houses under 500K.
No, there's not used houses for under 500K. So that all started actually, just the dynamic was a little bit during COVID times. We had a little shutdown for a little while, and something shut down more than others. Real estate was always still like popping throughout. I think for a week or two, everyone's like,
I remember you guys had to like sign disclaimers to walk into a house.
I hated it. Yeah, I was like, forget this, But there was like this hesitancy in the market, like, are we essential?
Yeah.
And I always thought I was, so I just went for it. But the home tours really started going off around that time. But then I kind of thought about it, then we kind of got more into normal. Then people were like, you know what, I want to walk the house. I'm not going to buy it virtually, this and that. So it kind of normalized around here. But now with clientele moving into town and people from all over really thinking and looking at Sacramento as an investment, or even just somewhere, especially right now, where to park their money with inflation and everything. So market's just been strong.
Right.
People are looking and they're like, hey, we see Sacramento as a really strong, what people would consider a secondary market to the Bay Area, but I consider it now a primary market.
Definitely.
Right. And so a lot of people just coming in and investing, and they're typically, when you're coming in with a lot of cash from a higher price point market, the first thing you consider is, how can I buy a brand new home? And then from there, you consider resale or used home, typically. So I don't know. I just kind of started something. And then I realized I was getting calls and interest and keep asking about new communities. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to go around and like shoot these communities. And it's kind of been working in my favor.
I mean, and that's awesome, because I feel like, especially first-time home buyers and people that aren't like really handy, maybe.
Right.
They want to get a house that's updated, right? They want to get a house that has all the newest features and all that type of stuff. And if they get something old that's been remodeled, somebody remodeled it to their own taste and maybe not to 2022 standards or whatever. When you get in a new neighborhood, you get whatever's the thing that's in. You know?
Well, even on that is like, the market is so fast paced right now. I'm sure you might have experienced that or talked to other people. We've all heard it. Is that the new builds, the way it's set up with most builders right now, it's not as competitive. You know, typically.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So like in the resale market, let's say you were shopping with me. We went out, we wanted to go buy this house or the next house down the street. Depending on the price point, I mean, you can expect 3, 5 or more offers on that home, right? So then you're kind of like, okay, what's worth, how much can I go up and over? Am I going 20, 25,000, sometimes 50,000 over the list price or more?
On a used home.
Right. And it's because, you know, people don't realize, and, you know, they're like, oh, well, this is cheaper than a new build. In certain ways it is, and I'll break that down. But you don't have that same craziness and competing versus 5 other people in a new build, because most new builds, most builders in our area are doing like a first come, first serve basis.
Correct.
So if you walk
you gotta stand in line to get a house.
So like, as long as you sign up and you get on the wait list, they release what's called phases. So they'll build like 3, 5, 6 homes, or start building them, or release empty lots. And then they basically look at their list, and then they call the first ones in priority. And a lot of the times, actually, on that priority list, a lot of those clients that did sign up fall off. Either they went and already bought a home, or switched the neighborhood they want to buy in, whatever happened. So you as a buyer would have a much better opportunity. And when you come in, they're not like, hey, give us your highest and best offer. They're like, this is the price. Do you want it? And then anything on top of that is just based on how high end you want to upgrade the home. And then of course, costs like solar and stuff like that, which you can either lease or buy typically.
So okay, real quick on solar. Solar is a must, right? On a house.
Yeah. So in California now, it's basically a mandate. I know we don't like that word anymore, but but it's a mandate on all new builds to have solar. So new construction homes that are doing these are basically giving you the option. They're saying, hey, do you want to pay this fee on top of your price? And you can work it into your home loan. So let's say on a home like 1,700 square feet, you can expect like solar to cost, I don't know, 15 to 17,000 ish. Each builder's different, so don't quote me on that. Or you can lease it for a monthly fee, and you sign a contract.
So the builder still allows you to choose that.
You could choose. So
there's still some choice in this mandate.
Yeah, but you still require.
Well, see, there you go. Your freedoms are still there. There you go. Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things. I'm personally not a fan of solar.
Why is that?
I just think that like the
you're gonna go with it looks ugly.
I think it does look ugly, but more than that is that a lot of these neighborhoods, for instance, like in Roseville, you have Roseville Electric. I don't think you really need solar on your house to suffice for your energy bill there. Cost is generally quite low for the most part, even talking to my clients. So the solar requirement is like, okay, thanks, California.
See, well, maybe California knows that California's grid can't sustain all these new electric cars because it's going to keep crashing.
Right.
So they want you to be a little bit independent.
Yeah, but even a lot
California is all about freedom and independence of their citizens.
I think it is, right? But a lot of the times, and this is just me being frank, is like these solar systems that they put on, it's the minimum requirement for that home. So it doesn't mean it's going to cover your 100% of your use all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's not really like Slavs would say, выгодно.
Yeah,
they're not putting enough where it's like it makes sense for you to have it.
Yeah, it's kind of doing the minimum requirement for that home and that
just to
size.
get away with it.
Yeah, some will do more. Don't get me wrong. Each builder is different in the way they do things. There's even one in our area right now that I've seen that's whatever price they listed it for, they're actually including the cost of the solar in that built-in price. So it's not like you come in, you're like thinking this house is 600, but really now it's 620 with the solar. It's like 600 is the price, and that's it, which is really cool. I was actually looking at a few of those in Roseville with my client earlier today from YouTube. Praise God.
That's awesome.
Yeah, from SoCal.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did they found you on YouTube?
Yeah. He's like, I'm buying a new house. I see you do it, and I watch your lives, and yeah, we met for the first time today. I was shopping for like 4.5 hours with him.
That's awesome. I mean, it is that. I think that's what it is like the fact that you put yourself out there just gives people confidence that, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of one of those things where it was just like, I was just kind of like, I need to get out there, but I didn't really know what to necessarily expect.
Yeah. Well, from we spoke a little bit earlier, you got the right gear.
Yeah.
Right. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
A little bit aperture and brightness and all that stuff. So that's all that matters. How did you get into real estate? Did you graduate high school and you dreamt of following your dream?
No, actually, I always told myself that I would never get into real estate.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was the stupidest job ever. Straight up.
Why is that?
Because so my dad's a broker.
Okay.
My dad's been a broker and in real estate since like 2000, 2001, so about 20 years plus. He was doing really well. And but then like obviously the crash, we had the whole thing change, and I saw the dynamic like in our family, like really well, living in a brand new home to like boom. And I knew that even though I was a kid, like I don't remember how old I was, maybe 12, 14 or so at the time, but I was old enough to understand what was going on, and like we're moving and this and that. And I remember like even at the school that I was at, we're talking about like tons of foreclosures and people and families, like my classmates talking about they have to move out of their house or whatever, they're losing their house or whatever was happening. It was like a ton going on. And like even throughout the time I was talking to my dad, and even now talking to my dad, I was like, he went from making like amazing to like nothing in 1 year. Just it was like a shut off. But more than that, at the time they had variable rate interest loans. So everybody's interest rates just jumped and the payment jumped.
Define variable rates.
So basically they were getting rates like whatever at the time, let's say 6-7%, and all of a sudden market tanked, rates go up, right? Money is hard to get, so their rates just jumped up and their payment got a lot more
so their
expensive.
loans wasn't a locked in rate,
right? It's not like right now where most people are getting a fixed interest rate on their loan. So like right now, like 3.5%, I just got quoted 3.8%. Their rates are going up. That's a fair warning for you guys. But so it was like a dramatic change to a point where the payment on the house legit doubled in a matter of months.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was things like that were happening in the marketplace, and people were over leveraged at the time. Like right now, I have a lot of clients like buying 10, 20% down, going more frugal on the house. Back then it was like, we're buying 2, 3, 5 houses, gonna get this thing going, ride the market or appreciate. And a lot of people were doing that, you know?
Yeah. So everybody thought it was easy money and safe. So
100%. And so anyways, I saw all of that happen, and then after in the post. So then when I was like high school going into college, I was like, nah. And my dad was like, hey, you should jump into real estate. I was like, no, thanks. You know?
Yeah.
Anyways,
you said, I'm going to be a nurse.
My mom was actually telling me, she's like, you should be a nurse or a dentist or something, you know?
Yeah.
Cleaning cavities, probably make way more money.
Yeah.
But I thought about it, you know, but honestly, like I was in my high school years, I kind of drifted through, didn't do so hot, but I got into college, went to Sierra College. Sierra College was cool. It was a vibe there at that school, and I kind of liked it. Then for some reason, something jumped into gear for me. I'm like, I want to be a business owner, and I didn't know what, but I was like already looking for different businesses that I could, like be like a small business owner or grow a business. And my mind started working that way. Started taking business classes and just surrounding myself with people who are in it. And then when I got into Sac State, I was like, all right, I've been delaying this. I'm keep going from job to job.
Yeah.
And
what was your first job?
My first job ever was actually when I was in high school, Taco Bell.
Dude.
That's a hustle, man.
Yes.
I have so much respect
Taco
for
Bell
fast food
teach
people.
you how to please people.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's like those people that they send a complaint, and so you like, sorry, we messed up your meal. So you give them a free meal, and then they end up throwing it out in the parking lot just in front of you. Just boop. It was not good. It was not good times. So there is Taco Bell will definitely humble you, and you will work hard. So yeah,
for that $7.25 an hour.
I didn't get a raise for 2.5 years that I was there. Since I started till I left.
What were you making?
I think it was at the time like $8, $8.25.
Oh snap!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Now my sister, when I trying to get her to do little cards or something for my business, she doesn't want less than 15 or 20 an hour. And I'm like, what is this? Accounting for inflation over here?
All my siblings worked at Taco Bell. I worked at Papa John's.
Nice.
Like I think my youngest one, they're making $13 at Taco Bell.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was making $7.25 at Papa John's, and when I would get like more than 15 hours, I'd be like, dude, I'm about to ball out this week. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But like all these, I kept switching jobs. And then my last job, I think, was like working for a winery in Lincoln, like a vineyard. And I knew how to drive a forklift basically semi-professionally because I worked at Home Depot before that.
Oh, would you look at that?
Yeah. And so like I've worked at odd jobs, but it was like I was going from job to job, and I'm like going there, and I know in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm working way too hard for this dollar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't get stuck here because I'm looking at, and no like disrespect, but I'm looking at like older people, like next generation, and they're like, I've been here for 30 years, 50 years, and they're still doing the same job that they were doing back then. And I'm like, oh, please God. Like,
not me.
Like, please, like, let me bounce out of here.
Yeah.
So then finally working all these jobs, I decided, hey, I'm just going to do this real estate exam and see where it goes. So on my winter break between classes, I just decided to take the exam and kind of went for it.
You were just taking regular business classes?
Yeah. I was taking business classes, and then basically I got my license like in the last half of the semester or whatever at Sac State. Because I was looking at the jobs out there like that they post online, and all the little LinkedIn, these, get connected and stuff. Yeah. And I was just like, in reality, like all these jobs sound super fancy or super cool, but I'm looking at the description and I'm like, this sounds terrible. Like sitting in an office 9 to 5, looking at Excel spreadsheets all day. I already hate doing that for school.
Yeah.
Like I can do it, but do I want to do it? And all these fancy names like financial analyst or this and that. And then I'm talking to buddies that already have these jobs, and they just look miserable.
They hate their lives.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think that's for me, man. And so, I just kind of hopped into real estate at that point, basically.
What was your, like, how long did it take you to find your first deal?
Oh man. So I learned the hard way.
Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, me a real estate agent.
Let me tell you, pride ends in humiliation. That's in Proverbs. That was for me for like the first probably year and a half, maybe even just so many people. Yeah. So many friends didn't buy through me. They're like, you got your license, congrats, bro. A couple months later, see him buy a house and never even talk to me. And I'm just like, oh, it hurts. You go through that that kind of painful breaking a little bit. But, now looking back, sometimes you see people like get into a business just like this. It's kind of, I feel like the entry point is a little bit too easy at this point in the market. There's just too many people getting their licenses, and a lot of part-time or hobbyists, I guess
Yeah,
you could
usually,
say.
I mean, you want a real estate agent, you want to get somebody, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah. Like a lot of people get it as like a side hustle, and they say stuff like, I'm gonna do it for family and friends. Like,
Yeah.
I get that. Like, if you actually do that for family, I get it. You know, it seems very appealing, but the reality is like when you're in a super competitive market and you're not doing it every day, like you don't have a pulse on the market.
Yeah.
All you know is the market's hot.
Yeah.
That's like it, you know? And I've realized more and more, like being in this business, like being connected, making relationships with other agents. I can't tell you how many deals I've had put together. Just the mere fact that that agent or that person on the other side knew my name, knew my business, or has heard of me, or has done a transaction with me. So like relationship and like continuous business, like you cross paths with the same people, the people that are doing it, you'll see their
Especially in
name
the same
again.
community.
So never burn bridges. Never. Like even when I have a terrible situation with someone and I just want to rip them a new one,
Yeah.
I'll say, thank you for your business. Hang up the phone. Cause you just never know. 5 years,
Yeah.
you don't want it to cost you something.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, back to it. Like I hopped in, and for the first, I think in the first year, my dad was like, hey, I got these 2 investors, repeat clients.
Mhm.
Do you want to help me out? And so I helped him out on the listings.
It took your dad a year to.
No, it was like,
Come on, Dad.
I'm saying within the first year.
Within the first year.
Within the first year. But see, the thing is, so my dad kind of hopped out of the game.
After 08.
Yeah, he kept his license and everything. He went a whole different route. He did it something else, and he was doing really well in what he was doing. He had multiple things going on.
Mhm.
So for him, it was like, moved on, cool. I don't want to do the sales thing, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
When you get older, like all this running around, it's not easy. You know,
I can imagine.
Yeah, especially if you have like family and kids, like it's not easy. But anyways, so the first year I was like helped my dad with a few deals, but I wasn't like bringing in my own stuff. I was super young, super green, full of fire, but didn't know like where to go, how to do it. And the market compared to the early 2000s and now is night and day different. Not even the fact of like, how quickly homes are selling or trends or stats or whatever. None of that. As far as marketing goes, social media is now at huge play. Places like YouTube are at huge play. And those places, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, create more authority as far as you as an agent or you as a business, more than it was back in the day when people only knew 1 or 2 realtors in the area.
Yeah, they listen to the radio or open up the yellow pages.
Yeah, or the guy that's sending them postcards in the mail. But now it's like, you got to do all of that, and then you're still competing with 10 other realtors.
Yeah.
So like, you better be on your game,
That's crazy.
But so it's just a different pace. So that's why when I got in, I was like, I'm trying to learn, Dad. And so I just started looking at YouTube. What do I do? Talking to other realtors. And so I just hopped into my dad's broker license, basically. About a year or so into it, I had an opportunity to join a team. It was like a bunch of like young kind of Slavic American guys, like, let's sell, And so, so like I saw a lot of opportunity there, and I was like, hey, they know modern marketing.
Yeah.
They know modern sales, how it's done today, how it's, taught, like how you speak to clients today is different even. And so I was like, I'll join this team and then like figure it out, and hopefully it does really well. Join the team, full of fire again. I'm like, I'm going to crush it. Just finishing up college, I think at the time, or getting out of college. And I'm like, oh, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm going all in. And it is not working out. Like straight up, I joined the team in the beginning of a year, like January or whatever. And then I get a home in contract. Doesn't work out. Worst transaction of my life. The client like leaves, doesn't ever want to talk to me again.
Yeah.
We were 1 day away from closing. So I was like,
wow.
I was like, I almost did it, It was just bad. And then for the next 6 months, it was like on and off with certain clients. And for me, it was just honestly, like the way I look at it now, is just like a humbling season. Just like, that's why I said that. Pride ends in humiliation.
Yeah.
100% happened to me. And and then like finally after that first year with the team, I was like, all right, I'm getting the groove. I got connected with some investors that do like really high volume of like flips and stuff like that. So that was good exposure for me too, of like the flip and remodel game, and just learning at a higher level. And then after that, I started seeing more business coming in. The team as a whole wasn't doing that well, and I just felt like, hey, it's time to jump ship and do your own thing now. And so about 2018 is when I started solo again, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna do my branding, everything by myself. And so I just decided to go with our last name, Golovey Real Estate. So my dad's still the broker. We're still teamed up. I still help him once in a while. He still covers for me. And then, I basically started building from there, like 2018 till now. And then 2018 had a solid year, and then it just kind of been going from there.
So how many years have you been doing it now?
10? So technically my license I've had for 5.
Okay.
But actively probably since 2000, probably like end of 2017 into 18 was really when like the trajectory switched, and I was like, okay, I have to.
So you've been these past few years, you've been exposed to like an awesome market.
Oh yeah.
Where you like a lot of learning experience, selling and buying and posting and all that.
Yeah. So 100%. What is it? Warren Buffett says, a rising tide floats all ships.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid.
I know a rising tide
floats all ships.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And that's basically when the market is doing good, everybody's doing good.
Yeah.
But I will say this, you can still 100% fail in this market like I did in the beginning. Like that was still a great market.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
16,
2013
17,
was a great market.
Yeah, exactly. Anything post 2012, we're doing all right. You know? So rising tide floats all ships, just like guys in the stock market right now, some of them making a ton of money, but the reality
some of them are
is
losing their life.
But for the whole, everyone is saying things are good, but that's because the overall market is good and moving. Depends how you look at it, that of course. But that's what I would say with like a lot of real estate agents. That's why this flood and this business and like a lot of this movement and this good market and prices continuously rising. People are making money. People want to invest, want to buy homes continuously. That's why it's brought a lot of agents to the table right now. Right. So I understand that things can change drastically.
You've been there.
Yeah.
You've seen it at least.
That's actually, I'm always cautious. Like, more like conservative approach with like spending. And when people buy houses, I'm like, don't go all in just because you like the house. Like underbuy if you can, and if it serves your purpose. So that's just kind of how
any predictions? I mean, yesterday I was listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Nice.
And they had an interesting guest on. I forget her name, and I was like really trying to remember her name because I knew I was going to talk to you, and I wanted to bring her name up, but I don't remember her name.
Ivy Zellman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ivy Zellman, a super interesting lady. That's the first time I've seen her.
I think they call her the Oracle of Real Estate.
Yes. I guess she predicted or brought up the first flags, and she didn't mention any red flags. If you listen, did you listen to that podcast?
I haven't, but I've heard of her, and I know she's thrown some forecasts out recently.
So she's raising yellow flags. Like some things are looking similar like they did back then. She's like, well, we're not telling people not to do anything, but just be careful. Don't do stupid things like you did back then. What are some predictions that or maybe, I don't know if you want to predict, but if you want to predict and get it right, you might be the next Ivy, bro.
But this is the podcast that's going to take me to the next level.
100%.
Yeah.
But like maybe what you've been noticing, is there any changes that you've noticed or anything like that?
So I have like 2 mindsets. There's that one mindset as like a real estate agent.
To the moon?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm realistic. I think that, for instance, for 2022, I was looking at a forecast recently, and this one came out. I'm part of this huge like real estate network. So we're always like looking at different forecasts and stuff like that. But this interesting kind of stat came out, and they brought together basically 7 economists from 7 different organizations. And these are legit organizations like Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, National Association of Realtors, like legit organizations that do forecasts every year. And basically they took these 7, and the averages were anywhere from like 3.5 to about 7.5%. Between the 7, the average was 5.5%. And so basically they're saying that for 2022, nationally, they're expecting home appreciation to be about 5.5% for the year, nationally. Me personally, I don't like to predict or tell my clients, hey, you're going to be up 10% this year. Like, they won't hear me say that.
Yeah, buy a boat.
I say, I'll buy a boat.
Yeah.
Anyone need a boat? I'm selling one.
There you go.
But I personally think just seeing how the year has already started, okay, we're into the second month. The way January started this year was a lot hotter than I've experienced in the last 2 or 3 years. Like, I had clients on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, texting me links that were not shopping, texting me links like, hey, we want to see this. And like got off their kind of, like sitting on your hands.
Yeah.
They kind of like, were like, let's go.
Yeah.
And January was just like busy. And, typically that happens, New Year's resolution, this and that. But this year was a little bit different for me personally. I've also seen a huge uptick in new listings as of January. So that's good as well. But I will say that one thing that's kind of that, in my opinion, a little bit of a yellow flag is, what are interest rates going to do? And I know we're all expecting some hikes this year. And most of the projections are saying that, by the last quarter this year, we're going to be like just under 4% probably. But even right now, like I was just doing a pre-approval yesterday, solid credit, solid down payment. What they were quoting was 3.875%.
That's great. I mean, if it's at 3.8 now, end of the year might be 7.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, the reality is it can change like this, and just even a few months ago, like I remember getting clients like closer to 3%, even under 3%. And so for it to tick up that quickly, that's also brought a lot of those buyers like, oh shoot, my pre-approval and my affordability, if they understand that, is going to change drastically here. So I better do something, because I think that a lot of buyers, there's always those people like, I throw I threw one out there on Instagram. What do you think will happen in 22 with home prices? I'm just like, I throw it out there. Like,
yeah. Get a feel for it.
Waiting for market to crash. And I'm like, do you understand what you're asking for? Yeah. You have no idea. Be careful you can't even fathom what you're asking for. Oh my God, this triggers me, because people think that if the market crashes, they're going to be in this hot seat and
like they're the only person with money.
Yes. And they think that the overall real estate market will not, in fact, affect their job, which affects their actual ability to get a home loan. Yeah. If they lose their job, you're out of a home loan, aka if home prices, let's say, are amazingly at $100,000, like you still can't buy it unless you have it all cash. Yeah. And so that's the reality, is that real estate market just doesn't affect real estate agents. Yeah. It affects construction workers, lenders, banks in general, investors. If you're a teller at Bank of America, and Bank of America is not bringing in dough,
they can hire you.
They're going to just keep the best staff. Yeah. The reality.
That's true.
And it just trickles down everywhere.
If your dad does siding.
Yeah, exactly.
Your dad probably won't have a job.
If your dad does construction or whatever, now the guys are not turning homes.
If your dad's a trucker and they're not moving lumber.
Exactly.
Boom.
Everything.
Yeah, it
does. And so if you look at the real trickle down effect, and that's just my personal, is like when people say that, I'm like, you haven't thought this through. Yeah. I don't want the market to crash. I'm okay with corrections. Yeah. I'm totally fine with that. That's a normal market thing, but I don't think that you should be wishing.
Or like where it slows down a little bit or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, a little bit of a slowdown right now wouldn't be bad for any of us.
And yeah, it would just let people take a breath,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So basically, if we're going to talk projections, I think that 5.5% nationally is pretty safe. Given with inflation and everything, I think that's like more than doable. Personally, for Sacramento, back to my point of how I saw the market uptick just this last January, I think it's going to be a little bit more aggressive than that. I'm expecting more of like a 7 to 10%, maybe even more.
In Sacramento area.
And so just to give you some actual stats. So I was looking for last year, and I was comparing like December to the December before. So like a 1-year gap. And basically median prices in our area have increased for most areas, like 15 to 18%. The median price sold 15 to 80% in 1 year.
And yeah, that's insane.
That's a huge, huge increase. So I'm not expecting that same jump personally for this year. Could it happen? Maybe. Will it happen? I'm not as confident, but I think that the numbers are definitely going to be more than that 5.5% that they're saying nationally.
And I would agree with you. The Sacramento market is a very unique market.
Yes.
Like you can't compare it to like
Yeah.
somewhere in South Carolina.
I think we got lucky.
You know what I'm saying?
South Carolina, because everyone from here is moving to South Carolina.
Like South Carolina, Kentucky. I mean that's just the
yeah, they don't have the same appreciation.
look, I'm not trying to talk smack on South Carolina or whatever.
Right.
I have family there and stuff, but like in my humble opinion, if South Carolina was such an awesome place, I mean that state's been a state for 300 plus years. How come it's not full yet?
Yeah, because it gets humid.
It's just not the place to be in my opinion. I mean, it might be the place to have a couple rentals. I don't know.
Yeah. Their market's been growing like crazy with the influx coming in, and I've seen that. I'm actually going to be interviewing one of the agents from there to kind of talk more about their market because we have so many people moving there, and I 100% get the appeal, because if you've owned a home here anywhere within the last 2 to 5 years, your equity is probably pretty substantial.
Yeah, at least maybe doubled.
Yeah, if you didn't buy it, in some terrible neighborhood, but even then, you're still just probably up. Right now.
Dude,
anybody.
Real Linda, North Highlands, $150,000 homes are up for $350,000.
Yeah, like in North Highlands, you can't get in under $350,000 right now.
That's
basically
crazy.
Yeah. So with that, when you have these healthy gains and the political climate is changing, there's something to be said about that, whether you agree with it or not, whatever. That's not what we're talking about, but that's a reality. You know, it
affects the market.
Yeah, and even with schools and all the mandates and whatever, job climate is changing too with that some people are like, California's not the place for me anymore. I'm going to take my money and I'm going to go buy somewhere, and instead of still having my mortgage here, just take this money, cash it out into this home. I don't have a mortgage. Life is a little bit simpler. I get a little bit bigger lot, right?
Right.
And the views there are a little bit different. And it's kind of that simple country lifestyle. And that's how it's been explained to me. And I think that's the general story for the most part.
I just heard somebody talking recently, and the reason they don't want to move there is because there's the neighborhoods that they were looking at. There's no sidewalks. And they're like, that's super weird for me. Like, I can't move there if there's no sidewalks.
I would just, if a sidewalk is that important, I would just take that extra $100,000 you made and just pour a sidewalk.
Build yourself a sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's interesting, and I actually like what you said about how you approach clients, because there are real estate agents that all they care about is that percentage that they're going to get after they close. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what the market's saying, and if it doesn't matter what they're pre-approved for, they want that client to close.
Yeah, 100%.
Have you met real estate agents like that?
All the time. Yeah.
Can you save us all? And like, do you talk to them? Or are they like, how do they feel about that?
Well, it's like,
it's only business, bro.
I know it's only business, right? There's definitely, I think it's in all sales, right? Because real estate is 100% like a sales, like you're a professional salesperson.
Yeah.
Just like the guy selling solar or cars or whatever. So like, you got to be closing. Like that's
where you make your money, of course.
You put bread on the table, right? But sometimes I will say, like, playing a little bit of the opposite coin, is that sometimes what's good for your client, but they don't know what's good for themselves. So sometimes you do have to kind of like, all right, we've talked about this. This fits the bill, and there's not that many homes on the market. So you kind of have to like,
you don't really have a choice here.
Help them in or like push them in a little bit. I'm not saying go be like aggressive salesperson or make them make a bad decision. But I will say, like, even in the last 2 years with all this COVID market going crazy, but when COVID just hit, I had multiple clients that were like super on edge, but they knew that their rent kept increasing, or they outgrew the house they were in, or typically like the halfplex when you start and you're getting married, or the condo.
They're trying to upgrade.
And you're like, I have a kid or two now. This is terrible living here, And a lot of times during that time, it was like a lot of uncertainty. And with COVID hitting, like, you don't imagine how many like friends and clients were texting me like, when's the market crashing? Like, that conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like, but the funny part is, that was just 2 years ago. A lot of these guys that bought, I was just talking to one of my good friends, and I was like, do you remember how nervous you were when you bought that house? And I was kind of like, you need to just buy this.
Yeah.
You need to just buy this. We just had a conversation like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, hey friend, congratulations. You're up almost $200,000 in equity in 2 years. How do you feel now about that purchase?
Yeah.
And he's like ecstatic, and he hit his 2 years. So even if he cashed out, he's not getting taxed on it.
Yeah.
Like, who's making that kind of money right now?
No, I mean,
well, that guy that you just interviewed with the shoes, he's making that kind of money right now.
Yeah, he is. Justin's killing it. But I'm sure you get this question all the time. Sam, should I buy right now? What's your answer?
I approach people like, what's your situation? So like sometimes if I have someone who's renting a place and their rents haven't increased in the last 5 years, and I'm like, do you need to? Like if your rent is whatever $1,200 and you have this house, like you're kind of beating a monthly payment right now. Like, might be cool to stay there.
You got equity in your rental.
Yeah, basically, right? But if it's someone whose rent keeps going up every month and they're just like and they have some money saved up, I'm like, hey, wouldn't you rather just purchase and then have that potential home appreciation and benefits of homeownership instead of just like cashing out your landlord who is paying his mortgage with your rent?
Yeah.
Or you don't like the area that you're in. So like each situation is so different. So if I feel like, hey, it's a good time to do it, hey, it's not. Like sometimes I have people that maybe didn't get pre-approved for what they want based on their current financial situation, and we might need to wait a little bit more to just have more income on the books, so so they can get actually into like an actual home instead of just buying something that they're not really crazy about. Then I'll just tell them like, hey, hold off, like let's save cash.
Yeah.
Or hey, you're getting this new job, why don't we wait on that, have some work history? It's going to put you in a whole new bracket to actually buy the home that you are going to be comfortable in. Because I tell people like, okay, you've seen these crazy increases in real estate the last few years, but don't bank on that.
Right.
Don't bank on that. Just
don't get hyped.
Oh my God. Just look at crypto, right? All my friends, crypto is going to the moon. It's going up. As soon as I invest, 2 weeks later, everything changes. Yeah. And I was
like, and they're not licensed. See, that's what
yeah, exactly. And so my advice is like, okay, most people move on an average of 5 to 7 years. Right now, I'm seeing a trend, just with the market being the way it is, I'm seeing a trend of people moving more of 3 to 5 years. So quicker moves, because that equity, and they're like, all right, time
giving
to
them that opportunity,
move up into a bigger home or into even like another state, another nicer area, whatever it is, better school district, giving them that opportunity. So I'm seeing quicker moves. But with that, I tell people, hey, if let's say you didn't get that price increase on your home just yet to sell, because there is fees and costs to sell a home. So you need some increase on the price for it to make sense to actually sell.
Right.
And like, if that doesn't happen, are you okay living in this home for the next 5 or more years? Like, is it going to suit your family? If it's not, then you're thinking too short term. If it is, and you can kind of ride it out, till situations improve, or you have enough capital to just go buy another house, whatever, then I would say, yeah, you're in a better position to do so. But don't think of it, I'm going to buy it and in a year I'm up $100,000.
Yeah.
Like some people have had that. Fortunately, they've had that, but I wouldn't bank on that. I don't think you should look at it.
Just as fast as it went up $100,000, it could go down $100,000.
Yeah.
So somebody once said the best deal in 10 years is today.
Yeah.
And so I'm no financial expert or real estate agent, but like in my mind, I feel so sad when I see people, like I know people that sold their house 3 years ago because they're waiting for it to crash. So they have all this cash, and now they just literally lost on $200K, because they sold 3 years ago because they were so excited about the crash. And then other people, on the other hand, buying today, I don't know if it's the top of the market, but buying today, something that's outside their means, but now they're like, oh, I have to buy. It's never going to crash anymore. And they're overpaying because they just want that cute house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, it's like, if you're being a realist, if you can afford the payment, even if the market crashes,
Yes.
okay, then you can in 10 years, that makes sense for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're stretching yourself thin because you're trying to buy a house, like, and if you have that cheap rent that you were talking about, like,
Yeah.
bro, are you kidding me? Save up your money.
Yeah. If it puts you in a better position to buy a better house, you know, then 100% kind of wait it out a little bit. But then for some people, it's like also a huge push in the market has been that I've been paying attention to is like a lot of people are working from home now.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have that cheap rental, but now they need the extra room or the extra space to have their in-home office.
Okay.
So for them, it might make sense to work from home and end up going to buy that house or getting something with that one extra room.
It's a tax write-off, so it's pretty much a free house, right?
No, I think they only do the portion of the room because I ran that past my CPA the other day.
It's a free house.
I was like, but what if I shoot my YouTube video in the dining room?
Yeah. And then I edit it in my bedroom.
And then I shoot it again in the kitchen. So technically I'm using all my square footage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried it. I'm pretty quirky with all that stuff. So like,
that's funny.
Yeah, it just depends on the specific situation and for the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like you said, to that point, like a few years ago, people cashed out. They thought it was the top of the market, and they end up sitting on their hands, and you know they have to go rent. So typically they're paying premium for a rent, and then that cash just kind of slowly goes away.
A couple percent every year.
But also your spending, man. Like all of us have had this. You have an ample amount of cash, and then a couple months later you look and you're like, wait, why is it not as high? Like, because your spending habits just naturally increase too.
Because you're like, I have all this excess.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you don't think about it as much until it starts like divvying down and you're like, oh wait, I've been spending more than I should.
Yeah, that's insane.
My favorite is when my clients sell their house and then we'll go buy like a huge toy, like a RV or like
120 grand
or a new truck, you know, and I'm just like, nice.
Enjoy that when it's worth half that price.
Yeah,
it's sad. It's like sometimes I wish real estate agents and CPAs or financial advisors worked closely. Like that would be smart partnerships.
Yeah, wealth planning. Wealth planning,
exactly.
100%. Yeah, and you don't need to be a millionaire to start doing like wealth planning. Like there's some basic principles.
Dave Ramsey. If you don't know how to save money, he'll teach you.
Yeah, 100%, you know, and he's good at that. So I have a lot of respect for Dave.
Yeah, good old Dave. Somebody looking to become a real estate agent right now.
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. No, absolutely. I actually have quite a few people reaching out to me like here and there, you know, people getting their license or maybe that have been in the business or trying to get back into the business. You know, a lot of times people are working a job and then, you know, this is their like side hustle basically. So, you said advice.
Yeah, if I got your answer. Don't become one now.
No, I was totally joking.
But like is there a right time to become a real? I remember when I was a kid, there was this like afisha, and bro, there's like probably 16 pages, and they would have like would be full of little pictures of real estate agents.
Bro, I was in there once with my dad. Never got a call. No, really? One lady, and I think she was kind of crazy, so it didn't work out.
Afisha didn't work out.
Yeah, no.
When is the right time to enter a market as a real estate agent, or is there never a wrong time?
I don't think so, because it's kind of like what we're talking about. Do we know for sure what's going to happen with the market in the next years? No, like it's always a risk to get in, right? But I think there's a huge upside potential because so it's sales. It can go as far as you want to go. As far as you want to work, as hard as you want to work, it will go there, you know? And it's still 100% like a business. Like if you run it like a business, it'll give you consistent and repeatable and scalable results. If you run it as a here and there, I got these clients, it's never going to be consistent. You're going to tire yourself out.
It'll treat you like you treat it.
You're going to hate it. Like,
that makes sense.
You like every successful agent that I know like has a morning routine and they're blocked off in the morning. Like I don't even show houses till after lunch.
Really?
I don't. Unless I absolutely have to. It's an out of town client. I block myself for the morning because I'm working on my business. I'm following up with clients. I'm working on marketing, whatever it is that's going to give me that result in the next 3 to 6 months because the time cycle for sales. So like I'm working on that in the mornings. Like I don't show houses. I don't get distracted doing other stuff or like random stuff. Like I try to limit that as much as possible.
Okay.
Personally.
In my mind, and because I'm Slavic, to find a good deal on like the auction for a car, like I see homies scrolling on their phones at church.
Yeah.
You know, like to find that Civic.
Because the Lord's going to bless you right there.
Yeah, when you're doing it at church, of course, it's the holy place.
Yeah.
What about you? Like, are you scouting like MLS all day looking for a deal? Or are like when somebody comes to you, hey, Sam, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this area. Like what type of back work background stuff do you
first of all, more than just like hopping in and like getting excited on their excitement. Because I'm excited. You know, it's like emotions die really fast.
That would actually be a good reel.
Yeah. I'm excited for this house.
And the real estate agent.
Yeah. We should do that. I try to qualify the client first because a lot of people coming into the market right now, they know it's kind of pricey. Everyone's looking for a deal. And the funny part is we all joke about this. There ain't no deals out there, you know?
Yeah.
But there is deals. There is deals, but it's all about what's your situation. Are you going to be flexible if I find you a deal? Because like I have one friend right now. He's like, Sammy, give me a deal. And we're good friends. Like I want to help him out. But like I sent him 2 off-market listings yesterday that are my own listings. And I'm like, dude, I could get you in like under market. And I know the client selling it. I'm selling it for her. I'm going to go on the market. I can help you avoid all this competition. Like you're going to be up at least $25K at least
after you close.
Yeah. And I'm like, just by even like not competing with the market, I'll get you in, no hassle, you know, like I'll help you out.
Can you do half
I don't
price
know,
now?
but this is not the neighborhood and this and that. So like the deals is never going to be a perfect situation.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be real. Like the market is tight. Like inventory is tight, but like when they do come up, it's like the guys who are the most and the gals who are like the most flexible, like I can make this work. I can make this a rental. You know, I'm up to do the work in this house. Those are the ones that are getting deals.
From what I've learned, and I'm not like in real estate or something, but like from other people, usually when you're buying a deal is you're buying somebody else's like headache or problem, and you have to be willing to put up with all the BS that the house
That's
comes
the reason
with.
it's a deal.
There you go.
Yeah. You know, that's like literally the reason it's a deal. Like, why do I sell these super renovation properties? We buy them actually. And also I have investors that buy them all the time, like at large scale. And it's not like we're just like having a heyday and going through these.
Hey,
sometimes these
cool
properties
deals
have serious issues. Sometimes like that fix and flip that looks as beautiful as that, you know, top sold home in the neighborhood. That home could have potentially had a foundational issue and was sunken and they jacked the house up. Or, you know, the roof was sagging inside or there was mold or rats in the house. Like it's nasty, you know, and I don't go dressed like this in there, you know, and I'm bringing a huge flashlight. So, you know, if there's some squatters in there, I know some guys, they'll go poof, poof, poof. And then they say police. And I just wait to hear if anybody runs and then they'll walk in the house.
Really?
Sometimes these houses are sketch. You never know.
That's crazy.
You know? But yeah, you're literally sometimes buying someone's headache. And the reality of that is sometimes they leave like their hoarders or whatever in these super flip homes. And you don't see this on HGTV as much or whatever. You know, it's such a facade on there. But there's just stuff everywhere. Everywhere. And you're like, if I clean this house, me and a few buddies, it's still going to take us 3 to 5 days just to clean it out, just to take this crap to the dump. And then you're paying to actually dump it.
Yeah.
So like most people don't realize that stuff. They're like, oh, I'm going to get a little flip. I'm like, you have no idea what construction costs are. You have no idea what it takes to do a construction.
Contractors like that markup, baby.
They do. They really do right now. But yeah, people don't really know the reality of the cost, especially in the last 2 years with COVID and supply chain and all this stuff, like just going through the
Material
roof.
prices.
Material prices are a whole nother level.
That's crazy.
For the regular consumer, it's like most people don't know what they're getting into, I would say.
Yeah, especially when you're like not involved in
Not
any
to
of that stuff.
yeah, and that's not saying to discourage you if that's something you really want to do, or you're handy, or you have a dad who can totally help you out like I do.
Yeah.
But
But just get a realistic quote, maybe.
Yeah,
you know?
get a realistic quote, and then you'll see that the numbers have changed drastically just in the last few years. Drastically. But going back to getting into real estate, I think that the market's still going to serve you very well. But there's going to be, like I said earlier, there's a lot of agents, right? I think more agents than listings.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is this. I think it's Pareto's Law is what it's called, if I'm not mistaken. It's the 80-20 rule. If you ever heard of that? So, 20% of the people are getting 80% of the business, right? It's just a principle in business that works. So right now in real estate, 25% of the agents are getting 75% of the business.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of useless people out there.
There is just the top producers that are kind of bringing in more. And the reason is there's an attraction to quality right now. So even though there are these things like these different companies coming in and doing like commission compression right now, hey, we'll do it cheaper, we'll do it this, we'll do it that. People realized, hey, the market is actually like, if I'm gonna go buy a house right now, it's not easy. Like we're gonna have to go to bat, and I want to work with someone who knows the game, who's gonna fight for me, and who knows deals and who knows what's gonna be worth it to go up over value or when is not. And when to pump the brakes. And so consumers, I believe, are flighting to a quality right now.
I mean, dude, there's this one rule that has never failed me once. You get what you pay for.
100%.
And the experience, you get the experience, whatever you're willing to pay, that's what you get. And that like just over time and time again.
Proves itself.
Yeah.
It proves itself. Yeah. So the same thing is like, again, it's not to discourage somebody. Like if you're thinking about getting in, actually reach out to me and my team. We'll consider or any way I can help you. I actually do get coffee meetings all the time with people who are getting into it, want to pick my brain. And I tell them the reality of my day to day. I tell them the reality of like, hey, this is what I do. Other people go a whole nother level and they're making a whole nother level of money. Just 2 weeks ago, I was in Las Vegas for this huge real estate conference. It was kind of like this private event, but it's still quite a few agents, like 1,500.
Oh, wow.
And they're all like top producing agents in the nation. Some even from like Canada and other countries. And
how'd you get in?
I'm a part of this group.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah. Well, you also have to pay serious money to be there. It's crazy. But I love being there because it opens your mind to a whole nother level. Like I have buddies in New York City. You might say that's a totally different market. Sure, but their market is crazy competitive and way harder, I would say, than ours to be successful. And there's average Joes who you'd never guess. And we talk like, okay, how income and what are you doing to scale your business? And I meet guys all the time. Like I make 10 million last year in commissions with my team. And we're talking like 5 to 10 agents bringing in 10 million in commissions. Other guy I know in the Bay Area brought in 20-something million last year with his team.
That's insane.
10, I believe. Another guy in Canada that I'm good friends with, him and just one other assistant and I think one agent that's like a starter brought in 1 million in Canada. In Canada. During their shutdowns are worse than ours.
Yeah.
And he's crushing it.
Wow.
So I'm just saying that to say that it's very possible to take it as far as you want to take it. Like you can literally run this business like a real business, not like a.
Because, and I'm glad you said that because a lot of people think of real estate as like, oh, it's somebody's side thing or nobody's really treating it seriously. But then there's other people that we probably don't hear about that, like you're saying, are treating it like a business.
Yeah.
And like where it takes up 65 hours of their week,
Oh, yeah. Sometimes more.
That's crazy.
So like I will say the reality is you can create your own schedule. That's very true. But then also
it's so flexible.
But
it's like Uber.
The hard truth of that, the double-edged sword right there is that also your client creates your schedule.
Yeah.
You can, like last Saturday I had some clients come in from out of town, and so I felt like I had to be there. So by 9:30 or so, I'm like on a Saturday morning, I start showing them all these like beautiful luxury homes, and most people are like, "Wow, it's eye candy, it's amazing." But really, by hour 3 or 4, your energy just goes down, and people feel your energy.
Yeah.
And when you're selling,
you start stuttering, and
and when you're selling, like people buy from people who feel good, who are positive, who are confident. Yeah, that's just the reality. Like I know.
What's your secret? You got like extra IV shots?
Yeah, Advil. No. Actually, it is a mindset. Like I know when I'm going to a listing appointment or to meet with a buyer,
you look in the mirror,
regardless of how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Like literally, I sit there and I'm like, I'm going to have great energy for this client right now, and I'm going to bring it.
Yeah.
And even if I'm feeling down, this morning I had a huge headache.
Then the clients are like, "Hey, what's this bring it pin on your jacket?" Oh, it's just like an inside thing.
And like, it sounds so silly. But I would bet you if most business owners, anybody that provides any service, I don't care if you're serving pizza, your tips will go up.
If you bring it.
If your customer service goes up, like Chick-fil-A, why are they always smiling? It's not because they're getting good hourly rates. Yeah. They're taught that good customer service.
It's always their pleasure.
Like regardless of how you feel, you overcome that. Like this is the discipline that I've set for myself. And it sounds so ridiculous, right?
But dude, that is the best way to approach life.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, bro, if you let the downs hold you down.
Well, yeah. And so like back to like selling, people love to work with people who are high energy because they want to be high energy about the house. Like, so you might as well bring it, So I was showing them homes from like 9:30 a.m. had to drive almost like an hour.
Yeah.
Showing them all these luxury homes, and most people like for the first time are like, oh, this is amazing. I'm showing these 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million dollar homes. They're already like taking money to the bank, but I'm just like on it and driving, and then I'm still showing, and then it's 12:30 and I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. I have to leave. I have to go show other homes 30 minutes from here, sign them for a contract.
Because they're actually more serious or something?
No. Just because I had double bookings.
Oh.
And drove to Granite Bay, showed them, had to be on my game too. Never ate, never nothing. And then they're like, hey, we're still here in town. I'm like, great. Left that one, went back to them. So it was like literally from like 9:30 till like probably almost 6:37 p.m. Just straight showing. Didn't eat, just water in the car.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, that's a like outlandish example, but like the reality is
it happens.
Yeah. And you want to be there for them, especially if it's somebody from like out of town, because if they're driving hours or flying in,
they're investing their time for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you can't just show up like, oh, okay, guys, I'm tired. There's like, hey, Sam, are you tired yet? I'm like, nope, I'm crushing it. Let's keep going. You just keep having fun, man.
That's awesome. So like, have you had clients where you've spent like 2 weeks with them, and then you're like, yo, where are you guys at? And like, oh, actually, like
all the time.
Dang.
All the time. Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest things that discourages real estate agents, I would assume.
Yeah. So there, there's a pre-qualifying step too. It's not just, hey, they're pre-approved for a loan. Like you gotta pre-qualify your client and like really know the motivations, how serious they are, and spend time with them, and also communicate and educate them on the current market, because a lot of people come into this market, like first-time home buyers specifically. They're excited. They see a cute house on the market. They go to write an offer and they get just wiped out with, 5 other offers. And they're like, what the heck? This is crazy. And and the only reason is they were emotionally tied to the house. They already saw themselves living there, which is
a good sales job,
which is a beautiful thing. But it's also the hard thing when I was living there and now it's not
Somebody
mine.
stole it from me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically giving them like the real, educating them on the market. Hey, expect, like the national average right now across the nation is people are writing about 7 offers on average before they get the home
Wow.
that they want. With my clients, I'm seeing more of an average of 3.
Good job, Sam.
I
Great
mean,
education.
praise the Lord.
Yeah.
So it's the education and the reality check that even after the first, maybe even sometimes the second or even the third offer, like if you get beat out, you kind of have to, guys, I'm sorry to be the deliverer of bad news, but I did let you know that there's going to be multiple offers in these situations. And most of the times when I walk into the house, I already know. I'm like, ding, 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 ding. It's priced at this. I'm expecting there to be this many people. This is a sweet location, or this is not that sweet of a location. And I can kind of average what that house is going to probably go over for, if that's the case. And sometimes they don't want to go that much over, which I totally understand. I'm not going to push it, but I'll tell them, and they'll say, hey, we want to only go like 5,000 over.
Can you still do it?
I said, I'll write the offer, but I just want to be very clear that I believe this house is going to sell for 25 over. Is that all right? So I'll still communicate it, and I'll still 100% put it out there, and I'll still push. There's still more things than just the offer price in an offer that can get it across the border. A lot of the times, you know, there's a lot of terms in the contract that you can adjust and different things for the seller just based on their situation. So there's that. So I would just say, back to what you said, we're covering a lot of ground here. So
we
I'm
are.
sorry.
This is awesome. It's really good.
Yeah, just tell me when you got to go to bed. But I would say that for agents getting in and clients leaving you after trying to, you know, like, hey, we're getting a house, and a few weeks later they fall off, is that pre-qualification is going to help a lot. Seeing the real motivation levels, and also like comfort levels. Like if they're super comfortable in their rental, or if they're living with like parents or family, you have to understand practically, like, sorry, I don't know if that's
no, you're good.
You have to understand practically, like, they don't have to pull the trigger.
Yeah, they're like, they're just there. What if?
Yeah. And so it also goes back to that whole talking about getting a deal.
Yeah.
If that keeps coming up to be the conversation, like, you better know what you're getting yourself into. You know what I mean? So I will say, yeah, I've had plenty of clients you're shopping with for months. There's a life change. It's been even sometimes they run across a property, they walk into an open house, and the agent in there just fluffed the heck out of them and was like, I'll get you in this house.
Bake some cookies.
Sign right here. And they're like, oh my God, they're going to give us the best deal ever. You know, that kind of, it happens. It's a part of the game. And then also, you know, the reality is, like I said, there's so many agents, they have like a choice. So like, if you didn't perform on some sort of level, you know, even if you felt like you performed, the reality is maybe somewhere your service was lacking. Like, we have to be really hard. I don't want to say hard, but really truthful with ourselves. Like, am I doing the most? Am I, you know, bringing it based on their motivation level? So it's going to happen. You're going to lose clients like here and there, but, you know, the people that really practice their game, I would say, as far as like proofing the client and also just serving them with education, have a much higher retention rate of like keeping the client, actually closing them when that client closes.
That's such a like a psychological game.
Oh yeah,
It's
I'm
insane.
A counselor.
Oh
I'm
my-
not just a salesperson, bro.
You're a listener first.
I'm a listener. I'm a counselor. I've had people cry on my shoulder. I've prayed for people.
Oh my goodness.
Like literally marriage issues, divorce, trying to get both to like get to it. Like, I mean, everything.
Oh my
Financial advisor. Technically, I didn't say that. You know, I did. But like all these things, like interior designer, you know, like life advice, you know, whatever, like spiritual advisor sometimes, like you never know what you're getting into.
That's crazy. So when you're getting into a real estate business, it's not just selling homes.
Oh no, it's like multifaceted.
That's awesome. Sam, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was a pleasure. my first time meeting you in person.
Yeah.
And I love your bringing it. It feels like you're bringing it this
Am I
entire
bringing
time.
it? Yeah.
I know it's late, but you're doing a great job. So where can the people find you if they have questions?
If you guys want to find me, I mean, if you watch YouTube, I'm guessing this is going to be on YouTube. Sam Golovey, and if you do -Sacramento real estate, that'll come up. Also on Instagram, Sam Golovey. That's Golovey. Golove with a Y at the end. And Facebook as well, but typically Instagram, YouTube, and then on there you can have my number and email and all that if you really want to reach out to me directly.
Awesome. We'll put everything in the description. Thank you guys for joining. Subscribe, like, share.
All of that.
Yes, and if you're looking to move to California, sounds like you guys are. Reach out to this man right here, and we'll get you situated. Peace.